What's up, guys? You know who it is, your boy JS7, and we are back. The Rewind Show is back. Just got back from California. Anaheim won last weekend, and boy, it was crazy. Eli Tomac, Sexton, Cooper, Webb, Hunter Lawrence, Jorge Prado. You had Danger Boy going with his teammates, Max Stanstein. And did somebody order the takeout with the Levi Kitchen? Was looking fly and looking good all weekend. Unfortunately, we was missing Jet Lawrence. That was tough. But his brother Hunter Lawrence was there to hold on to the fort. Man, been looking forward to Anaheim 1 for a while. Ever since we finished with the playoffs. Been looking forward to it, and we got what we want. So the people showed up. It was a sold-out crowd. The riders showed up. Everybody got out of there somewhat safe. Barsha, I hope you're good. My brother, he's all right. He's a tough dude. I'd probably still be laying out there, but those guys should get well soon. Heard some better news with those. But people, let's get into the racing because you know what we saw this weekend. Let's do it. So every year you come into Anaheim, all these guys, it's a weird race. It's a weird race for a lot of different reasons. It seems like things just, you have two different riders. You have the guys that have a great offseason that show up and they're feeling pretty confident. And you have the guys that didn't have a great offseason, kind of wondering where you are, and then you show up. It's difficult for everyone. Why? Because you're used to riding the test tracks. There's no hay bales. The tracks are just different. The jumps seem bigger with the being in the stadium. Everything just feels really tight. So no matter how the offseason went, you show up at Anaheim, especially on press day, it just sucks. It really does. Your nerves are there, and especially if you didn't have a good offseason, you're already questioning yourself coming into it. You question yourself possibly going out of it. But Anaheim is its own race. It's unlike any other one. Even the first race of motocross isn't like Anaheim. So these guys felt the pressure. But when you see some guys show up at press day, they'll be trying to throw the whips. They'll do all that. And for me, every time I did, I would look and I would say, man, RV looks good. Reed looks good. Back then, press day was on Thursday. So I had 2 extra nights of not sleeping, especially when I saw those guys. But nonetheless, you show up, you get there on Saturday, you try to erase what happened on press day, whether good or bad, and then you try to go at it. So it's a difficult race, just nerves-wise. A lot of the mistakes and all that, it's just guys being nervous. Again, the bike, track setup, all that. If you fast forward them to next weekend, it probably won't be as big of an issue, but we saw a few things this weekend. So we'll start there. I can't wait. I can't even wait any longer. I got to talk about him. Now, let's just get into it, people. Fan favorite, Eli Tomac. I don't know what it is. The dude's really good. We knew when Jet Lawrence went out that Eli was always going to be good. It was really a question, the KTM, how he looked. He looked pretty good in the other rounds, the Supercross, the world rounds that I saw him in, but then he also looked like he had some issues, when the bike wasn't good. It almost looked like somewhat of, back in the day where when Eli was just, when he was on, and when he wasn't, he was just kind of like there. You kind of saw that a little bit in the world rounds, but then listening to him at the press conference, they were talking about the tires, and I'm sure he wasn't even necessarily concerned about it. He wasn't racing all that. His main focus was here in the state. So that makes more sense. But the question was the KTM and how would he look on it? Well, I got to say at round 1, and every time I actually seen him ride from the videos and practice, I'm not going to say he looks good on the motorcycle because he looks good on the motorcycle. What he looks like is that he's having fun. And when he's having fun, you get that, that head bob, that baby, holding in the stroller. I saw a lot of that this weekend. But listening to him after the race, you could see his lean angle, his corners. And so I started paying attention, and just trying to go back on the Kawasaki, on the Yamaha. To me, the KTM reminds me of the Honda. The version of the Honda, even more than, when he had this couple years on the Yamaha where he looked really good. It looked like he had the Honda effect. And what I mean by that is that when I watch him, we can go back to the Chase Sexton, how he looked on the motorcycle. I felt like the KTM was going to be a struggle for him. The way Chase rode, how he sat on the front more. He was more of a forward-facing rider, forward-riding rider, where Eli moves around a little bit more. We know he likes his rear and stiff. He likes to get on the gas like that. You know how he is. Eli rides like that. But when I watch him, he looks big. Like it looks like he looks big on the bike, which makes it seem like he has a lot of control over it. So when you watch them this weekend and even during the practices, it almost looks like he's riding, back in the day when they had the 80s with the big wheels. That's what it looks like. It looks like he's in complete control of the bike. And even when it swaps out and it's maybe not working, he's in control of it instead of like he's riding the motorcycle, unlike the motorcycle riding him. And there was a few times on the Yamaha, specifically the year where he ended up tearing his Achilles. He showed up at Anaheim and looked very good. He won that race, and then he showed up. I think it was the few races later when they had the Triple Crown, and I was like, man, Eli looked spunky, almost to the point where it was like, all right, kind of calm down. And he ended up crashing that night. Well, that's the way he looked this weekend, and I would say it's probably the most comfortable I've seen him in a few years, especially this early in the season. Normally, Eli come out even from his injuries. He'll come out, he'll throw a turn down for what, he'll do all that. But it was like hit and miss. Every lap I seen him ride, it looked like he was having fun. It looked exactly the same. And so when I go back and say, you know, it was he looked good on the motorcycle. He looked comfortable on the motorcycle, which ultimately makes any rider good. And when you're comfortable and you feel like you're in control of the motorcycle doesn't necessarily have to work. It doesn't have to. It can kick. It can do this. It can wash the front end or tuck. But it's like I can gain control over it really easy. And that's what I see with him. He looks like he's in control of the motorcycle. And the motorcycle did work good. You saw him, his exit speed was phenomenal. His entrance speed was good. Like he's always good, really fast going into the corners. But what I saw is that once he leaned the motorcycle and committed to that turn, getting out of the corners, he was great there. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Jet Lawrence. Like, his entry speed is good, but once he comes out of the corner, man, there's a huge acceleration. And he was killing those guys. I mean, you can see him after the whoops, tripling, like blitzing the whoops. He was really easy for him. He was only one of the, I guess, sometimes even Justin Cooper was doing it, but he was really the only guy kind of blitzing the whoops towards the end. And then being able to get in that 3, hop over that 3 into that 180 and going down the straightaways. So those are the things that I saw, that he just looked really comfortable. There was even a moment towards the end of the race where he's going down that rhythm section before the whoop section, where I think he got a little cross-rutted and looked like he was going to jump off the racetrack. And it was towards the end, but being in control of the motorcycle, being like you have that control, he was able to kind of pull it back. So Eli rode phenomenal. I think with Jet being out, there was somebody who was going to step up and really put their stamp of like, look, I'm here. There's a change or no change, whether you were Cooper Webb on the same team. I know they got different bikes, but whether you were Cooper Webb, Chase Sexton, Eli, you wanted to come to Anaheim with Jet being out and really just showing everybody that, look, I know these guys would be here. I know it wouldn't matter if Jet was here or whatnot, but I'm here today and I'm here ready to race. I'm ready to win tonight. And I think that was a big statement. Normally, when you have a guy dominant like Jet or even Ricky back in the day, MC, RV, if they had a bad night at Anaheim like Jet did last year, they're in that category of, okay, what happened? Like, what happened? Okay, Chase won last year. What was your next question? What happened to Jet? Well, when Jet's out, it changes that. So that's why I said I feel like a little bit, and I'm thinking from my standpoint, if I was in that position, I would want to come into Anaheim and really solidify that, because I know when the top guy's in there, it's that what if. And even in the back of your mind, no matter how good you ride, until you start beating Jet, which nobody's really has straight up over and over and over enough to be able to be like, it doesn't really matter. I got that confidence. It's going to be hard to mentally get over that part. So with Jet being out, you're not thinking about that. You look at the guys that's on the gate and you're like, I can do that. So Eli, to me, came in this race, I wouldn't say with that mindset, but he came in this race. And I think once he got on the track, press day, he looked comfortable. He felt comfortable. It almost every lag, it was like, well, why not me? Why not me? And he rode, and it looked easy for him. Even in the heat race, he was behind those guys. You could tell he was just like, you're kind of in my way. Jorge Prado got his heat race win, which rode good. We'll talk about him in a second. But overall, it was pretty obvious that Eli was feeling pretty comfortable because even in the main event, didn't get the start. He passed Jorge immediately. He was not waiting immediately. And how difficult that racetrack is, I would almost say that, and I'll make transition into him as well. That track was more set up for Ken Roczen. Ken looked good. He's been looking good all off season. I talked to his teammate, manager Larry Brooks. Everything looks good. I think Ken having a teammate like Jason helping one develop the bike. Jason's great as well. He's a defending champion. He's a champion, past champion. So I think that elevates the team. They're probably getting more support from Suzuki, and Larry knows what he's doing. Ken just looks happy ever since he's been on that bike. So I knew coming into the season, he was going to be good if he was healthy. Well, the way that track was, Ken got a decent start where he was able to get up in the second place. And years past, how good Ken was riding. And I would say maybe some of the struggles that Eli had on the Yamaha, a little bit just from his struggles for him, it would have been easy for how good Ken was riding for Ken to close that gap. But Eli was so comfortable. Eli bike worked so good, and he didn't really care. And he was able to stabilize that. So years past, that track was more set up for Ken Roczen, how smooth he is, and being a good starter and being A1. He's won that thing a few times. Eli was not having it, and Ken was there the whole race. Eli didn't crack. And like I said, it looked pretty easy to me. I'm sure it wasn't because that track was really difficult, but nonetheless, you got to give him hats off to him, honestly. Him, KTM, switching teams with all the stuff that happened with Chase. I was happy for those guys. Same thing, even with, Kawasaki, they had a rough night, but it's a great time for all these guys on the team. We saw the interview with Jason Montoya, mechanic for Chase Sexton, the family time, being around. Those guys are leaving the family. And unfortunately, when a rider is not happy and they're coming down to your house and doing all this testing, their wives and kids and, all that stuff, they're back at home, but they're there. They're dedicated, just like the riders. They're dedicated. So when everything works out, I love seeing everybody smiling. Yeah, us riders, we get all the credit. We're on the podium. We popping the champagne. We got the trophy. But at the end of the day, when you see your team manager, your mechanic, your suspension guy, all those guys smiling, hugging, that means more to most riders than even just winning the races. And I think you saw that with Eli Tomac, getting the hugs from Ian, Roger DeCosta, all those guys. You saw how much that meant. And it was really cool to see that. And I was really happy for Eli. You could tell his face was like, man, I can't believe how good this was. Almost like in a shock that he won. I wouldn't say it was a shock that he won. It probably a shock that everything went so smoothly and he felt the way he did on that difficult track. So moving forward, beast mode. I'm not even saying beast mode's back because I don't think he ever left. But this version of Eli, as long as he's got that smile and he's got that baby in that rocking chair, he's going to be a force to reckon with. And it was great to see it. So congratulations to him, all the team. Jorge Prado, you knew he was going to come out swinging. He got that start. We show up at the heat race where the incident with him and Cooper Webb. And I said on the broadcast when Cooper went into Aaron that was caused by Jorge. I didn't mean Jorge actually caused Cooper to crash, or it was something that Jorge did. But because Jorge wanted to come here and he felt comfortable, he looked good all day long, and he was scrubbing people that got around him. He wasn't just letting up. He wanted to battle, and you saw that in that heat race. So when Cooper Webb got him, you probably thought maybe Cooper thought it was like back in the day, even last year on the Kawasaki, that Jorge was like, man, he was just out there for the ride. No, not. Jorge got some new shoes, some Prada shoes. He scrubbed that. Cooper looked back like, oh, snap. The GP champion's here. He's here to battle. And Cooper had to cut in on that inside. So he looked back. Jorge was going down because he ain't trying to be denied. Cooper looked up, runs into Aaron Flessinger. It goes down. Glad to see Aaron was all right. But I was saying that was caused because how aggressive Jorge was. He didn't let up. He didn't just let Cooper. Otherwise, Cooper would have went to the outside. He would left the inside open. Jorge was like, look, hey, you're going to open the closet door. I'm going to come in and steal all your shoes. I I'm a different dude. I'm here to play. So Cooper had to close the door on him. And when he closed the door, he blew through it, blew through Aaron Plessinger. AP got thrown off like he was on a cowboy. He didn't know what the hell was going on. And it was funny because like Aaron doesn't really get mad. And when he had his interview in the LCQ, he was talking like, man, that was aggressive. Well, knowing Aaron, he had to be really pissed off. Like for him to probably go back, watch that video. Him and Cooper don't have no issues. Cooper wouldn't do that. And I know Aaron did, but the way he got bucked off that bike, he wasn't ready for the rodeo show at that point. So he was still a little salty from it. And nonetheless, like he probably felt watching his teammates out front doing their thing, he probably could have been there as well. So he was still bummed out, but glad both those guys are all right. But that's what I was meaning by Jorge. That was caused by Jorge. But nonetheless, dude, I got to give the dude credit. All the pressure on him. If he didn't show up, man, I'm telling you, it would have sucked for him because everybody had it written down. They could not wait to be like, see, he can't ride. It wasn't this. It wasn't a team. It was him. So that was a lot of pressure on him, and he showed up and he did good. So really cool to see that. I think Jorge's in a good spot. Not saying that the Kawasaki was bad or the team was bad, but I think having Eli being the guy, Aaron probably being the guy, and then he being that, I wouldn't say the third guy, but when you look at it, they probably expect if all these guys are firing, probably Eli, Aaron, and then Jorge, they all be close, but he would be on that tier. So that probably takes a little bit of pressure off of him where it's not all about him. When he showed up at Kawasaki, it was all about him. When he didn't win, it was all on him. We only talked about him. And so I think now having those two guys probably helped him out. Now, he get on the podium, he started doing this. It's going to be all about him, but really cool to see that. Congratulations, Jorge. Again, congratulations to the whole KTM teams. You guys killed it. I'm sure it was a big win for many different reasons. So congratulations. Hope it keeps going. All right, let's quickly talk on the German chocolate. Ken Roczen. Ken was good. Ken was good to eat. I ain't really going to say much about him. Ken was probably the best I've seen him look at Anaheim, even over his wins. And he beat my ass one year. He had me running mechanics there. I had to run this little rookie down. I didn't know who the heck this dude was. So he looked even better than he did there. And truthfully, if Eli wasn't so in tune, smiling and rocking the baby, he should have won that race too. But nonetheless, really good ride for him. I think Ken's going to be a real threat this year. He's always a threat, but his biggest thing is throughout the season. I just got a feeling that this could be the year. Like this really could be the year where with his teammate, and again, because Jason's there, there's a lot of pressure on Ken, but there's kind of equal share. Like he has to give a little bit, to Jason as well and his whole team. So I think that'll just kind of help him. They'll work on each other. Maybe if Ken's not feeling good, maybe Jason can help out and do some of the testing. So everything doesn't fall on him, which, I flew home with Ken, one of the races, been around him and his kids. You know how it is, Ken, and them kids, it's a lot of work. Shoot, that's why I missed, which I got to apologize right now. That's why I didn't do last year. It's just a lot of work dealing with these kids. So when anybody can take off the workload, whether it's, hey, babysitter, hey, test rider, whatever it is, hey, can you run to the grocery store, Uber Eats? Can you help me out? I ain't trying to cook tonight. Well, I think with Jason being around, maybe he can help Ken out. And it just looked like he was really dialed in on a tough racetrack, which I know it suits Ken, but there was a difference about him. He was really aggressive, and he was there on Eli the whole time. So got to give him a shout out. Want to shout out to Jason Anderson too, man. He looked really good as well. I will say both those bikes, especially Ken, when he was able to make some passes in that the main event, man, between him and Eli's bike, I don't know if it was all the motorcycle, the Suzuki, or Ken Roczen. I'll say it's probably a combination of both. Man, those guys are like Velcro on a track that was really difficult. Man, Ken was able to land off those triples and get to the inside or not on off that section where Barsha and my brother crashed. He was really quick there. And so really good for him. He's going to win some races. And I do feel, my personal opinion, when it gets down to the end, he's going to be a title threat there too. So good job, Ken Roczen and the whole racing team. All right, let's talk about Cooper Webb. I would say it's a mixed bag for him. Really. Way practice went, It was Cooper Webb. He actually looked really good to me. And when I watch Cooper, if I see him on top of the board, I'm like, oh man, like they're gonna get beat. Like they're gonna get beat because I would say, wouldn't even say that's a weakness, but that's one of the areas that you don't see him often. So when he's up there, you just like, man, he's gonna get beat. I think it was one of the races, Detroit or Indy last year, where him and Chase battling or something. He was just on a different level and he qualified first. Well, to me, when I watch Cooper, I don't really look at is he on top of the board. That's obvious. If he's there, he's good. I just look how he looks. And he had really good roll speed through the corners. He looked comfortable. Sure, he wasn't like everybody else was. I'm sure he wasn't. But overall, I thought Cooper looked really good. And he came out in heat race firing, really firing. He blew AP off the racetrack. I know it wasn't on purpose. He was worried about getting slammed by the shoes. But hey, he looked good. Well, I think at that point, woke the champ up. Seemed like from that point on, it was like, man, like, all right, let me just kind of calm down, get through it. I want to come in here and I'm feeling good enough that I probably could win if I get out front, but I go down. That could have been bad. Aaron's mad at me. Aaron don't get mad at anybody. So that would affect me. Like, man, if Cowboy's mad, like he'll never get mad. He's like Max Anstey. Like they just don't get mad. So he was mad. So that'd affect you. And then the incident with Barsha, my brother, all those guys, you could tell it really let the air out the stadium when all that went down. But I think that had a little bit of effect on Cooper. So he didn't get the best start. He was coming up and excuse me if I can't remember exactly how the whole thing went down. A little tidbit. When I'm announcing the races, I come back and watch it the next day, which I didn't get back until late last night. So I haven't really seen it. It's like the first time I seen it because I'm more focused on other stuff. But Cooper seemed like he had a point where track was really difficult. This was after the restart. He was coming, and to me, it just seemed like he would go for a lap or two, like, all right, I'm going to go. And then whether he would make a mistake or he went off the track, go down, then he would calm down. And I think they got to a point where Cooper was just trying to get through the race. So that's why I say it was kind of a mixed bag. Yes, championship wise, I even said on the broadcast, I mean, I'll be shocked if he really doesn't finish top 5. I thought even coming into the race, if he finished top 5, past history, how he is, hey, that's a win. Because Cooper Webb, I will say this, Cooper Webb's the only guy on the racetrack, only guy in that field, even with Jet Lawrence there, because usually Jet's on top. Cooper is the guy that he can qualify 8th, 10th. Cooper's the guy that can show up in the heat race and get blown out. Okay. But Cooper's the one guy that everyone, when he has a number 1 play and he shows some kind of signs of being good, and those signs that he shows of being good is what I look for when I see him in practice, when he just has a good looking lap. Might not be the fastest, but he looks comfortable. Cooper's the only guy on the racetrack in this field that everyone still worries about him. So him being top 5, if he just got 5th this weekend, it's not going to be on the level of like what happened. Like if somebody else wins, Chase, Eli wins, and Jet's there. Okay, what happened to Jet? It's not going to be that level, but it's going to be on the level of like if Cooper's feeling good and he's 5th, these dudes going to run down like, damn, he's there. So it was going to be a win whether he won or not, if he was top 5. So I was kind of shocked that he didn't get there. But when you watch him ride, he looked like he was just kind of surviving, right? Like surviving. He got caught up behind a few guys, and maybe there's some things off the cameras that we didn't see. But nonetheless, it was a mixed bag for Cooper because he showed the signs of being the defending champ. He's still the same guy, maybe better, more confident. But then he had a bad result. I don't think that's going to affect him moving forward. As long as he's healthy, he gonna be there. He might win this weekend. Who knows? But points wise, it wasn't good. And the fact is, probably one of his strongest competitors outside of Chase, they were in front of him looking really good. And so I think Cooper Webb, he'll probably bounce back this weekend. Just a weird night for all these guys. But I really think between Cowboy being upset, what we saw with Barsha and his mistakes in the race, Cooper was just really trying to get out of there. And he ended up finishing where he finished at. So, the champ will be back. Now, Hunter Lawrence, he looked like he was struggling. Like he looked like he was struggling. When I watched the Honda, I'm not gonna lie, even during some of the preseason races, when I was watching Jet, it just looked like their bikes are really set up for a certain type of track. And the certain type of track wasn't that track at Anaheim. Their bike's a little bit stiffer. You know, it looks kind of like my bike back in the day where it's a supercross bike. Like it's meant to go fast. You could tell when it coming in the corners, like you could see a lot of feedback. And I saw a few times, I think even Hunter went down in practice, but it just looked like he wasn't sure what was going to happen with the bike. Looked like it was sitting up on the stroke and it was just dancing around. So he had probably the opposite feeling of what Eli had, where Eli was in complete control. Hunter didn't feel that way. So how the season went a couple years ago, he didn't make the main event. He needs to get rolling. We know Hunter is usually the type of guy, once he has to feel comfortable to go fast, and then he will. But as uncomfortable as it looked, and I think a lot of that was, again, bike setup, but the way the track was, it was not going to work for that motorcycle. When you watched him in the main event, even before the restart, first whole shot, he goes off. People are just going around him. And usually, so in the beginning part of laps, guys that go fast in the beginning part of laps, either you're just crazy like I am, you just don't care, uncomfortable. Now you just go for it anyway, or you're comfortable. We saw Eli, comfortable. We saw Roczen, comfortable. Hunter, he went by that life. He was not trying to see none of that. He wanted to get going. And so those guys really went past him. And in the beginning part of the race, before that restart, man, he was going backwards, and it just looked like a guy really timid. Now, even in the main, the race after the restart, it was the same thing. But what happened was he just got in the rhythm. And I think Hunter, this is the difference this year, and I think even years past, is that he was able to, because of his success and how good he is, he didn't just go backwards. He was able to figure it out, and he did the best he could. And a fourth place, truthfully, I think was, I wouldn't say a win because a win's a win, but it was a really good night and looks good moving forward for the season. The Honda, they struggled last year at Anaheim. This Anaheim was way different than even was last year. So it's expected them to struggle. I think Hunter is going to be completely fine. They'll work on the motorcycle. They'll work on a setup that actually, if they get to that situation again, they'll have a bike that works a little bit better there. But there will be a lot of tracks that their bikes work really good. Just Anaheim wasn't that racetrack, and how crazy things were. Again, the red flag with Barcia, that how difficult that racetrack was. I think he was just trying to do his best, and he did a good job. You can see him. He just wore El Hombre down. Like he kept wearing him out. Jason's a weird dude. You got to, he's a little bit like Justin. You just got to make sure you don't get him in his airspace, especially when El Hombre is feeling good and looking as good as he was. They got a little history. So, he might have more history with Jet, but hell, if he ain't there, I'll take out the next one. But Jason rode good, but Hunter did a great job in finishing fourth. I think it was a win for him. All right, the most difficult part, Chase Sexton. I need to have a sip with this one. There's a lot of people going in on Chase, and look, they got their points in there. I'm not even gonna say their points is wrong. I've seen a lot of different things. I think what's happening with Chase and why those people are going in on him, it's like when I mentioned with Jet Lawrence that, okay, this dude won, but what happened to Jet? When you get on that level, it's like, what happened to the other guy is the reason why you did. Chase's history is his biggest enemy at this point because he don't get any luxury. He's kind of a little bit like Jorge Prado. Like, people are just waiting to just rip him. So there's a lot of pressure on him. There's a lot of pressure on coming in. There was a new team. He didn't race any off-season races. That track was difficult. People was blowing out the Cowboy. People was going down. That track was really difficult. And just like Cooper Webb, there was a mixed bag of Chase. I actually think Chase is disappointing as it was. And I would say the disappointing part was, and I don't even know if he can help it with the racetrack, was that there was mistake after mistake after mistake. That part was disappointing because just like we saw Hunter Lawrence, and even though Cooper Webb made a few mistakes, there was a few times that Chase probably shouldn't even finish the race. And because the dude's so damn good on the motorcycle, he's able to save those things. But he had some moments. That heat race, I'm not even going to say that was bad what he did, But the fact that he didn't land in the face of that jump any higher was like, whoa, wake up call. And I think it really was a wake up call, because the mixed bag part was, if Chase would have whole shot of that race and he would have got clean air, there was only maybe two guys really, and that's Roczen and Eli, that could have ran with him. But the way Chase looked all day long and how fast, I mean, he looked comfortable. When you give that dude clean air, and when he has clean air, you can ride around where your bike isn't that good. So, for instance, if Chase would have got out front, I don't think he would have made the same mistakes as he was making, because he probably would have just rode around the lines that wasn't that good. Like some of the areas that his bike wasn't working good, he had so much more speed on those guys, he would have just rode around it. Clean air, I know people hate hearing that, but some guys, when things aren't right, you're uncomfortable on the bike, when you still have that speed, clean air is your friend. Because otherwise, you got to run those lines, because everybody else, they're going to run the fastest line. So you got to figure out a different way, which most likely isn't the best line, which most likely probably the rougher line, which most likely is trouble. And that's what you kept seeing. Anytime Chase got close to somebody, he got unclose to him because he was off the racetrack. He was trying to save it. And a lot of that was self-inflicted, but I will give him a pass, because I know what I saw was, damn, the dude can roll. And just like Hunter Lawrence's bike, Chase's bike was not set up for that racetrack. Like, even looking at his setup, it kind of looks like mine back in the day, where it's really stiff in the front, low in the rear. And the way that track was, it was not set up for that. I would have struggled off that. I probably would have been laid out too. So not saying that I could have rode it, but certain tracks just don't work for certain bikes and riders. And the way Chase had his bike set up, it was not going to work, especially when you didn't have clean air. And I think that's what you saw, because again, once Chase got close to somebody, he got unclose to him because he was jumping off the track. I think he tried to make those passes, and anytime he would try to go a little bit faster, because when you're not out front, you got to take the slower line, but you got to go faster. So how does that make sense? The only way you could do that is making the slower line faster, which doesn't make any sense, but you got to really take that chance. And every time you took that chance, bike wasn't set up. It was not going to work on that racetrack, and he just had issues. So I would give him a pass to say he did a good job and not just being laid out there, and in his mind, I'm gonna go to the mental side of things. And that's what I said earlier, that people are just waiting to jump on him because of what happened in the past. They're not judging him on what just happened in Anaheim. No, they're judging him is back in Oakland when he crashed on the Honda and he was out front, he just spin out. All of those crashes, what happened last year on the KTM, that's what they're judging him on. They're judging him on how the playoffs ended. That's what they're doing. So in the back of your mind, that's hard when you make one mistake in the heat race. Damn, here we go again. You make a mistake in the main event. Here we go again. And how difficult that racetrack is, you could just see his riding. It looked like he started riding not to crash again, which is ultimately, you don't set your motorcycle up like that, which only made it worse for him. So he was stuck in a weird spot. So I'm gonna give him a pass on that, because I saw even though things weren't perfect for him, I saw a rider that was like everybody was like here, he was just like here, and it looked easy, but he was out front. So he probably won that race out front. Now, all the stuff, as I just mentioned, the mental side of things, the disappointing part is Chase, you're too good to be doing that, right? Like, you're too good. And I just gave you a bunch of reasons why, and they all make sense. So it's not like I'm making an excuse for you or getting in on you, but you're too good for it. Like, you really are. Like, you really are. And he'll fix that. But I'm sure it was really hard for him. So if I'm telling him anything, dude, let it go. Let it go. Let those people, like all the people that's talking, they're going to talk anyway. So it is what it is. And maybe you didn't get affected with that. Maybe it's just bad luck. All these things happen. But if you were, or you thought about it, don't think about it. And that's way easier in this chair to say that. But really, man, if you win the championship anyway, you know what they're going to say. So, like, what does it matter? But you got some good people on your race team. That whole team's invested in you. Your Rango, all those guys, they want to win. So I'm sure it was disappointing. There's a lot of pressure on you, but hey, at the end of the day, they hired you for a reason. It was a win. So they'll take the chance, and most likely all the teams that are out there would take that chance. You're on Kawasaki, so you're straight, but yeah, you can't have that. Can't have that. Cooper Webb, because he don't really continue to do that stuff, he can have the same finish that you have and make the crashes and blow out Aaron, and nobody thinks of him like that. With you, it's just part history, and you've gotten way better. I told you a few years ago, and even when you've been on the KTM made you a better rider. KTM made you a better rider because I think because of all the stuff that you went and how you had to ride, if you wasn't a better rider, we'll still be picking you up like we were trying to pick Alex Martin up back in the day at Seattle, back in the day, like when he hit the ground. We'll be doing that. So nonetheless, it wasn't what you wanted, but you got out of there, and your team, y'all got to work on the motorcycle, just like the Honda. Y'all got to work on the motorcycle. That setup ain't going to work. And you can't be, to win this championship, you can't be that dependent on a start. So you got to figure it out, which I know you will because you got the crew to do it. So, yeah, y'all are good at it. You got your teammate, March Banks. I know he had a rough night, but look, y'all be fine. Y'all be fine. Rango, come on, man. You know what time it is. Hey, like, man, I'm leaving my daughters out here. We doing, the Supercross piece. I'm showing all this, and my guy jumping off the track. I ain't got time for that. So, Rango, you'll get him. So, nonetheless, people, that was all those guys. I'm glad to hear Justin. I don't have full updates, but man, damn, that affected me. It affected me. Even when I saw my brother, one of the first things he asked about Justin. He said he was down, messed up. He was looking, and he saw Justin down. Everybody. Eli had one of the best races of his career. They're asking about him. So, Justin, your family, man, hope you're doing good. My brother, some people, they're just built right, man. That boy is just built right. He'll be back. I know he beat up, but it was an emotional night. Let the air out of a great night of racing, but y'all be good. But before we go and we close the chapter on this, I got to say, Eli Tomac, damn. When I see him in the little LeBron, the little hairline thing going, like I'm getting gray hairs, they popping up. So I'm not saying anything. I got too much hair to be receding. My kid's like, hey, is Eli, like, is he older than you? I was like, why? He was like, his hair. And I was like, nah, son, that's because he going so fast. It's just blowing off. Like he younger than me. He's like Uncle Malcolm's age. And he was like, oh, so he old too? I was like, oh, all right. But nonetheless, Eli, you make me want to come out there. Like, it's the motivation for the older guys. And I'm way older than you. So he came out. I saw that smile. I really saw what the team was. And that watching you down there made me miss racing, truthfully. Like, and it wasn't because you won, because I see that happen every weekend. It was because that celebration with the team, and I saw that look in your face, and it reminded me of Atlanta 2013. It's just every win, even though the points, they count the same, and most likely your bonuses, they're not equal. That win was special, and it was really cool, and that part made me miss it. So Eli Tomac, it's been a year since I've thrown out one of these things, and I had to save it for Mr. E.T. KTM. I think you rode Suzuki back in the day. It don't matter. Everywhere you go is win. It's like the coach of Indiana. Google me. All I do is win. And Eli, all he does is win. And it's been a year. So we got to hit it for him. Eli Tomac with the neck burn. 2026, man. Great job. Can't wait to watch you this weekend. All right, people. I've been on here long enough, and this episode's going to be a little different because I just got back last night. So we're making it. We'll be full booted next weekend. But I got to touch on the 250 class before I roll out. Hayden Degan, Levi Kitchen, Max Anstey. Coming in here, everybody was expecting Hayden Degan to walk away with it. Walk away. And because he didn't win doesn't mean he ain't a winner, because clearly he's got number one plate, and didn't mean he didn't ride good or something was wrong. I would say this championship for Hayden to win is probably going to be his toughest one in Supercross. Yeah, Cole Davies rode great last year. Joe Shimoda did good after he broke his finger and he was doing his thing and ultimately ended up winning the playoffs and the whole championship. But just straight up riders that are, one, really good, really fast. I would say so far wait till you get to the East Coast, there'll be other guys, but he's racing against the best equipped supercross racers, like technical riders, guys that are just as fast as him on a supercross track. Max Anstey ain't no joke. The dude should have won a couple championships. If he don't get hurt, he winning, right? Levi Kitchen, he's a title threat, like he can win, and he looked good all day long. Even Hayden's teammate rode really good. Michael Mosman, you got Chance Hymas, technical, supercross, looking good. Chance is a different rider. I'll say this real quick about him. Last year, the only podium he got was the one podium in the mud race where he won. He didn't have any other podiums. Fact is, Chance got hurt, came back from injury, got third. He rode great. I think he got third, but like I said, it's one of the results. Who got second? Maybe he got second. I don't know. He was on the podium. I saw his face after when they were interviewing people. I saw his face. So whatever, he got second, third, whatever. But Chance looked good. And yeah, he got second because the Frisco, like the steakhouse, the Frisco's, he got third. But anyways, Chance is a different rider, and I like what I see because last year it wasn't that Chance was going to win a race. It was the chances how likely he was going to continue to be on the podium. What was his chances to do that? So for him to come out the first race and on a tough racetrack with this field, and other guys were making mistakes, he's got on that podium, ended up second behind Max. Like, man, that was solid. That's going to be a huge confidence booster because, again, it wasn't about can he win. It's like that consistency. One podium in that crazy mud race last year. Now he has two. Let's see what he does this weekend. I think if he does it again, possibly get a win, he's going to be a threat. Max Anstey. Secretly, I picked Max to win before the heat race start. I was like, man, he's going to win. Why? Because just like I was talking about Hunter Lawrence and Chase's bike, how it works. That track was not set up to come from the back. You could override it really easy. And if I'm picking, okay, starts on the line, I know Max is pretty good off the start. Hayden would have got out front. Hayden would have won, but I was banking on Max would start out front. And either way, if all three of them started up there, him, Levi, were all four with Chance, nobody was going to run away from each other. But if Max got out, whoever's got out front was probably going to win that race. And so I was banking on that. And Max looked good all day long, even though he didn't qualify first. It's that Cooper Webb effect. You look for certain things. Well, I saw what I was looking for, and I felt like he was going to do it. And based off the start, he looked good, and he did what he did at every other race that he won. So Max is going to be a threat. Again, Chance Hymas, Levi Kitchen. So my whole point about Hayden, everybody kind of came in here and overlooked it, how dominant he's been outdoors and him winning the Supercross championship last year. But you go back, like there were some races where, I mean, dude, his teammate was like legit, and unfortunately he's not there, Davies, but it was going to be the most difficult championship for Hayden to win. And he still might run off and win all these races, but it's still going to be the most difficult because of how talented the top guys that he has to race. They are just as good. And there's a lot of motivation. Max wants to get those Disney passes. You know how eggs, man, they're so expensive these days. So can you imagine the year pass, the annual pass these days? You got to win some races, and not just one. You got to win multiple races. Otherwise, hey, kids, hey, look, man, we need to go to Chuck E. Cheese. Like, you talking about Epic, Disney, Universal, it's Chuck E. Cheese. How about you know how you talk to your kids, you try to convince them that something else is cool. You're like, oh, man, how exciting it is for this blow-up pool. Who needs an underground pool? Like, oh, this is cool. Oh, man, that's how it is. So annual pass, they off the roof. Nonetheless, Max, a lot of motivation because of all the industry. He wants to win his championship. Levi, we know he has a motivation. And with Hayden, it's more pressure on him this year than he has in his whole career. And the reason I say that is because people expect him to win. And if he doesn't win, it's not only he has to win, he has to dominate from people's standpoint. And outside, people think he can't just win. He has to dominate. He has to take that step of not just being another champion, being like, damn. And the reason he has to do that for a couple, because of the outside noise, Hayden probably don't care. Clearly, he really don't care, but everybody else thinks that. Even if you won a championship by just winning a couple races and barely winning, people look at this as a failure because it's Hayden Degan. He should be in a 450 class. And that's what they think. So partly, just like my last year, the Supercross in the 125s, people think it's a waste of time. So Hayden, you got to go out there and just be way better than everybody else. Not saying you have to, but that's what they think. So there's a lot of pressure on you. Hopefully you're not buying into that, which, your dad and all that stuff. I'm sure you're not a smart kid. You're not buying into that. And then the other part is because when you've moved up to the 450 class, and there was so much hype in the offseason about Hayden's going 450, Hayden's going 450, Hayden's going 450, that when you went 450, even though, we talked a little bit, like, dude, I saw, like, yeah, you doing some turn downs, you were doing your thing, but there's a slight narrative out there, a little bit, that he's not as good as he is, right? Now, right, wrong, or indifference, not my opinion. I'll keep mine to myself, but I've heard multiple people say that. And I look at them like, huh? Like, all right. Like, anybody can win. Like, they're pretty good. But that's what they think. And when you got to race against people, what they think, how they think about you is a huge thing. So because the off-season races didn't go good, it almost looks like you realize that what they thought was true, and you almost confirm what they thought was true. It's like you got to reset that. Like, you got to reset that. And the only way you can reset that until you go out there and race them, because even you move up 450 outdoors, that's outdoors. Like, Supercross is a whole different thing. And when you're talking to certain people, they're just talking about indoors. The first one we see, Anaheim 1, we hyped up. Like, we hyped up. I can't wait for the first round of outdoors, but we ain't there yet. We talking about here. So they look at things as like, you're not as good. So you saw that and you went back to the 250 class. So boom, you ain't as good. Again, this ain't me talking. This is what I hear. So you got to convince the people that differently. And the only way to do that is by going out there and looking better than you ever have on a Supercross track. Doesn't matter who lines up on the gate. Even if Jet Lawrence drop back down 250 class, he gonna get his ass whooped. Like, that's my class. You got to show that to everyone else, to put that fear of like, oh, look, I'm that guy. Because again, right or wrong, that's kind of what they think. Now, I'm sure you're going to get a lot of backlash. I'm sure people are going to say this. I don't care. Come on, look at this face. Yeah, I don't care, because I don't mean no disrespect. And I ain't saying that's what I believe. I'm just telling you what the belief is out there, and that's the narrative. Because right? You were disappointed when you heard Hayden was going to ride 250 class. Why? Because you're like, man, he should be in the 450. What are you going to do? You going to win? Like, I mean, he already a champion. He's already done all this. People that's going to be mad at me are going to say the same thing. But so what you want him to be way better. And when a dude's only a few races from being second all the time, because I don't think he can get me. I think I'm pretty good on the 250 class. That's a whole different level. Like, that you're on that level. So you can have a great 250 career, or you can have an amazing 250 career. I think you already had an amazing, but nonetheless, you have to celebrate. You have to show everybody that difference. The people who, non-doubters, people who think maybe you ain't as good, and your fans that think like, hey, you should be in the 450 class, waxing those dudes. Because those people think that you're good, just as good, and you can show up in the 450 and win Anaheim 1, and maybe you can. But until you go do that, they think what you're doing right now is wasting your time. Again, ain't what I believe, but that's the narrative. So there's a lot of pressure. My whole point, people, there's a lot of pressure on Hayden Degan. And going back to my original point, this is going to be the hardest championship for him to win. Like, if we was racing against maybe last year, or I'm not even going to say, because the guys were good last year. If it was different circumstances, maybe the guys haven't won as many races and as good as they are, like Chance Hyde and Levi, I get maybe, all right, cool, you got to show me something, but I just know how good those guys are. And you might not win this championship, not because you got worse or you didn't ride good, because damn, if you have nights like you did and you don't get a star, Max Sandsty going to have them Disney passes locked up. And Levi, he ain't afraid to order that takeout. He trying to win too. So, as good as Levi did, pro circuit, they got better. Their motorcycles gotten better. Everybody wants a piece of the Degan. They want to lock you up. They want to take you out. Like, not literally, but hey, they want to take you out. They want to take what's yours. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. So if you don't win, you could ride great. You probably ride better than you ever have in Supercross and might not win this championship. And people are going to look at it as a failure. So again, Hayden Degan has a lot of pressure, but he knows how to handle it. But tonight, the other night, whenever it was It wasn't Hayden Degan on the Yamaha that won. It wasn't the kitchen. It wasn't Hymus. We didn't take no chance on that. Like, Chance did good. He got a chance. He made podium. That was cool. It was Max and Steve. And Max, before I give you the neck firm, bro, you had me feeling a certain type of way on the podium. Like when you said, man, I used to watch James. I was 7 years old watching him and Ricky. I was like, damn, I just had my 40th. Why you gonna bring that up? Like, so I was like happy for you, but then mad because I'm like, you just showed me, how can you be the oldest guy to ever win the Supercross class and then say, I remember when I was a young buck watching that dude race, and you made me feel bad. But I wasn't. It didn't last that long because I saw how happy you was. So Max Sanstee, you got to get a neck burn. You're going to need the second one because Eli got the first one. You're going to get the first one of this one, but the second one of the show, Max Sanstee, great job. Got to get it with the neck burn. Congratulations, man. That was awesome. All right, people. That's it for round one. It is good to be back. I'm sorry I wasn't back last year. Wait. I wasn't back. I'm sorry I missed last year. You know what I meant. I'm back. When you see my kids, just slap both of them and just blame it on them, right? It's always easier. Like, just blame it on them. See the lady with the little cart, she was Christmas, Salvation Army. Like, they used to have like a little kid out there. You can't say no to the kids. So I'm just blaming it on them because I know y'all can't be mad at them. But I'm back, people. I'm back. We'll be fully loaded next weekend, but it's good to be back. I miss you guys. Sorry, a bit rusty. But happy 2026. The Rewind Show is back. And until then, I'll see you when I see you.